Hello and welcome back. So on this video, what I want to talk about is something I call encapsulating the day. If you're anything like me and you've been dieting and binging and going through the whole cycle, you start like having conversations with yourself about, like, let's say you start a new diet and you think like, oh, this is going well, but how long is it really going to last? Like, do I really think I can stick with this? Or how am I going to look at back to school night or at that wedding? Or will I have something to wear to that event? Or your mind just goes kind of off in other directions, and those directions don't serve you in any way. So encapsulating the day, what that means is just staying with today, right? And as soon as you find yourself thinking about thoughts of the future or the past as it relates to food, just say to yourself, I'm going in the wrong direction. What I need to do instead is just, if I need to think about food, I need to be present right now and stay within just this day and ask myself things like, am I hungry? What am I in the mood for? Do I want it now? Do I want it later? How do I want to feel? All of those questions that I've talked about through this video series, that's all you need to do. Because if you think about it, if you're thinking, doing, or saying anything you've thought, done, or said in the past, you're going in the wrong direction. And usually those things relate to thoughts you've had in the past that haven't served you, or concerns you have in the future that won't serve you. So now I want to give you an example of something where I almost caught myself, I caught myself just recently kind of going outside of encapsulating the day. So this was just a few days ago. I was thinking about the fact that my family and I are going on a long road trip in a couple of weeks, and it's going to be like a 10 or an 11-hour road trip. And I started thinking about, well, if we're going to leave at 5 in the morning, what am I going to bring for lunch? What am I going to bring for breakfast for everybody? Like, I started getting caught up in how am I going to manage the whole food thing in 2 weeks from now? So then I said, wait a second, I am not encapsulating the day. I have plenty of time. By the time that vacation comes, I will, probably the day before, I'll figure out exactly what I need to do for breakfast and lunch. So I got myself right back into the day. And I said, okay, what can I do now to stay in the day? And I just started doing my tricks to make it stick, and I went to the gym, and I just did things that would make me feel calm and happy within that day. So that is another thing I wanted to share with you. And I hope that you're finding this helpful. I'm going to be continuing doing videos where I share my tricks to make it stick, because again, I do them every day. And when I don't, as I said earlier, I backslide, right? I'll never sit down with a box or a bag or whatever of anything. But once I learned how to enjoy 2 cookies by doing this, by asking these questions and doing these tricks to make it stick, once I learned how to enjoy 2 cookies, I never felt compelled any longer to eat 22 cookies. I used to just eat tremendous amounts, as I said, whether I was hungry or not. But when I'm part of the experience and eating what I'm truly in the mood for, paying attention to every bite, and I have my why as an anchor, right? I want to achieve that why, and the why could change. It's not necessarily always that I want to get into bed feeling a certain way. My why changes, from time to time. But when I'm not letting any foods be off limits, meaning that I'm not setting myself up for failure and deprivation and frustration, but instead I'm saying every food is available to me. I want to eat healthfully throughout the day, but I also want to eat 2 foods a day of things that I would normally binge on, so that I can see myself doing the things like I talked about, where putting off the baked lays or scooping off some of the frozen yogurt, or whatever it is, where I'm having conscious conversations with myself. That's when I realized, like, I'm free from food addiction and I'm now a peaceful eater. And what I realized is that going from dieting to binging, all it really ever was for those 45 years was a habit. It was a story I just kept telling myself that, oh, I couldn't be any different. I didn't know how to eat in moderation, and all these things I told myself. But basically, that's all it was a story, right? And once I realized that I like to call it a voice of choice, where I could choose, again, to have what I want, when I want it, in an amount I want, so that I'll be happy when it's over. Once I had that voice of choice that was actually speaking louder to me than the voices that told me to diet and binge, I chose a different life and I chose a different story, right? So that's available to you too, is just realizing that what you've been doing, it's just a habit, and you don't trust yourself and you don't know any way out. But what I found is learning how to incorporate the foods you were normally afraid of puts you in what I call the magic zone. And that is this very peaceful place where you don't feel deprived and you don't feel the need to binge. And isn't that the goal? Don't you want to be able to enjoy your favorite foods, but eat it in moderation? And I know you're probably saying, oh, no, you don't understand. I can't. That's not me. You were probably different. But if you listen to what I just said, is that I realized it was just a habit and a story that I kept telling myself. And once out of desperation that day in 2010, when I stepped out of that and said, wait, I need to do something different, I got an entirely different result. So now I'm happy with my weight. I'm happy with my body. I'm still have, a little bit of weight I want to lose, but as I continue to do my tricks to make it stick every day, and as I have these conscious conversations with myself, everything's changed. I have trust in myself. I'm no longer eating in private, hiding foods. Every time I would be with my family and we would go to a Yankee game or to the aquarium or wherever we would go in an airport, I was always saying, I'll be right back. I just want to go to the bathroom. And I would be taking out of my purse the treats that I brought because I knew that I just felt compelled to eat them. And I had to hide because I didn't want my family to know how much I would eat. Or, I'd been doing that since I was a little kid, just hiding food and planning binges. So I was always either on a diet, finding a diet, trying the diet, buying foods for the diet, blowing the diet, starting all over again. It was exhausting. It was a full-time job, and it was way harder to manage that eating disorder than it was to manage 3 young children. I felt like I was bringing the eating disorder everywhere I went with me. And it was stressful, and it was hard, and it was secretive. It was like I was having an affair with food. And you could probably relate because as binge eaters, we're all kind of very similar in our thinking and our actions. So I just wanted to share all of this with you to give you hope that your life can be different too. All you have to do, as I said earlier, is this does take work every day, but that's what the work entails, is just asking those simple questions, staying in the day, coming up with a why that matters to you, that's compelling, that's short-term, that's measurable. Because if you have that why that you want by the end of the day or the next morning, and it really matters to you, then you want to do the tricks to make it stick, because then you're doing the opposite of the impulse and you're going to feel good after everything you eat. And then by definition, you're going to achieve that why, because by the end of the day, you'll get that thing that you want. So I hope this serves you. Feel free, if you have questions, you could send me an email, julie@peacefuleater.com, or you can send me a text message at 914-629-0073. I'd love to hear from you. And again, I hope it serves you, and have a wonderful day.